Raytheon filed the patent in 1945, and the frequency was selected with a single purpose: find the note that makes water molecules dance, and they'll heat anything containing water from the inside out, which is almost all food, almost all of you. But wait, if 2.4 gigahertz was chosen because it's so effective at interacting with matter, why would anyone build a communication system using that same frequency? Why would you try to send a delicate data signal through a frequency that physically agitates molecules? That raises another question entirely. Here's where it gets strange. In 1985, the Federal Communications Commission did something unusual. They looked at three specific frequency bands: 900 megahertz, 2.4 gigahertz, and 5.8 gigahertz, and essentially declared them wasteland. These were the ISM bands: industrial, scientific, and medical. Frequencies already crawling with microwave ovens, industrial heaters, medical diathermy equipment. Frequencies so polluted with existing interference that the FCC decided they weren't worth auctioning to telecommunications companies. So they unlicensed them. Anyone could use them. No permission required, no fees, no exclusivity. At the time, this looked like a gift nobody wanted. The valuable spectrum, the clean, protected frequencies, was being sold for billions of dollars to cellular companies. The ISM bands were the electromagnetic equivalent of a condemned building. Everyone with money was buying real estate elsewhere, but a small group of engineers saw something different. They saw free spectrum, chaotic, noisy, interference-filled free spectrum, but free, and they started building wireless communication systems in the wreckage. Here's the thing that should bother you. They weren't building despite the interference. They were building around it. They developed spread spectrum techniques, ways of breaking a signal into pieces, scattering them across the frequency band, and reassembling them on the other side. The noise that made the band worthless to everyone else became something these engineers could navigate. Wi-Fi was born in a frequency band that the entire telecommunications industry had thrown in the trash. 802.11, the technical standard your Wi-Fi still runs on, was ratified in 1997. Built on junk, built on scraps, built on the electromagnetic neighborhood nobody else would touch because a kitchen appliance had already moved in and made it uninhabitable. But that's still not the full story, because there's a question hiding inside all of this that nobody asks. If the 2.4 gigahertz band was so compromised, why didn't engineers simply move Wi-Fi somewhere else? Now we're at the core. The electromagnetic spectrum is not infinite in any practical sense. It exists from 0 hertz to frequencies so high they become gamma rays, X-rays, cosmic radiation, technically boundless, but usable spectrum, frequencies that travel useful distances, penetrate walls, carry data efficiently, don't ionize human tissue. That's a narrow band, and it was already spoken for. By 1997, the valuable frequencies were gone, claimed, licensed, locked behind billion-dollar auction prices paid by companies who protected their spectrum the way nations protect borders. The ISM bands weren't chosen for Wi-Fi because they were good. They were chosen because they were available. The entire architecture of your wireless life was built on electromagnetic territory that was already considered ruined. And here's what that means. Your microwave oven didn't invade Wi-Fi's frequency. Your microwave oven was there first. Wi-Fi moved into the microwave's neighborhood. Wi-Fi is the newcomer. Wi-Fi is the one operating in compromised territory. When your Netflix buffers because you're heating soup, that's not a malfunction. That's not poor engineering. That's the fundamental nature of shared spectrum playing out in your kitchen. Two technologies, separated by 50 years of history, both reaching for the same frequency because one was engineered for it and one had nowhere else to go. The spectrum is a commons, and commons get crowded. Tesla understood this in 1900. He wrote about the electromagnetic spectrum as a finite resource, a set of channels through which all wireless communication must eventually flow. He predicted that competition for those channels would become one of the defining engineering problems of the modern age. He was right. He was just early. And once you understand that, once you see your kitchen as a small electromagnetic commons with two tenants fighting over the same channel, the real question becomes something nobody talks about. What does it actually mean for two signals to occupy the same frequency at the same time? In your normal experience of this, the story is simple. Your microwave leaks. Your Wi-Fi is fragile. Something is broken, or cheap, or poorly designed. When your signal drops, you blame the technology. You blame Your microwave oven and your Wi-Fi router are doing the same thing, right now, in your kitchen. Think about that. One of them heats food, the other sends cat videos to your phone. They seem to have nothing in common. Different purposes, different technologies, different everything, and yet, the moment you run both at the same time, one of them loses. How is that possible? How does a sealed metal box full of food somehow reach out and silence a wireless signal passing through open air? The microwave isn't touching the Wi-Fi. There's no wire between them. There's nothing connecting them at all. Except there is. There's something connecting them at a level most people never think to look. Something that Tesla understood about the electromagnetic world. That frequency is identity. That two signals at the same frequency aren't two signals at all. They're one, and only one of them gets to speak at a time. What you call interference is actually a collision between two technologies, both reaching for the same note. And the reason they're both reaching for it is one of the strangest stories in the history of engineering. Let me show you what I mean. Here's what they teach you, if they teach you anything at all. Microwaves operate at 2.4 gigahertz. Wi-Fi operates at 2.4 gigahertz. Same frequency, so they interfere. Simple. Lesson over. And that's technically accurate, but it explains nothing. It's like telling someone that two cars crashed because they were both on the same road. True. Completely useless. Because the real question isn't what frequency they share. The real question is why. Why do two completely unrelated technologies, one invented to heat food, one invented to transmit data, end up operating at the exact same frequency? Out of the entire electromagnetic spectrum, spanning frequencies from 1 Hz to 10 to the 24th Hz, they land on the same number? That's not a coincidence. That's a story, and the story involves a decision made decades before Wi-Fi existed. A decision about which parts of the electromagnetic spectrum were considered so contaminated, so hopelessly compromised, that nobody wanted them. Your Wi-Fi lives in a frequency that engineers once threw away. Start with what a frequency actually is, because that's where everything begins. Start with something you can picture right now. A guitar string, stretched tight, you pluck it, and it vibrates at a specific rate, let's say 440 times per second. That's the note A, not approximately A, not roughly A. Exactly 440 vibrations per second, and your ear hears a specific pitch. Now here's the part that matters. If you have a second guitar in the room, one you haven't touched, and you pluck that A string on the first guitar, the A string on the second guitar will start vibrating on its own. You didn't touch it. Nobody touched it. The vibration traveled through the air and found the string that was tuned to the same frequency. Physicists call this resonance. Tesla called it the fundamental secret of the universe. Stop and think about what just happened. Energy transferred, invisibly, wirelessly, through open air, from one object to another, but only to the object tuned to the right frequency. The other strings on that second guitar? Silent, completely unaffected. The energy passed right through them. Frequency is a key, and matter, specific arrangements of matter, can be locks. Now scale that up. Instead of a guitar string vibrating 440 times per second, imagine a wave vibrating 2,400,000,000 times per second. 2.4 gigahertz. And instead of a guitar string responding to it, imagine a water molecule. That's where this gets strange. Water molecules are not symmetric. Most molecules are electrically balanced. Positive charges and negative charges distributed evenly, like a perfectly packed suitcase. Water isn't. The oxygen atom pulls electrons toward itself, leaving one end of the molecule slightly negative and the other end slightly positive. Chemists call this a dipole. What it means is simpler than it sounds. Water molecules are tiny magnets, permanent, built-in, inescapable. Every single one of the roughly 3.3 sextillion molecules in a tablespoon of water is a microscopic compass needle. Positive on one end, negative on the other, constantly trying to align itself with whatever electric field is nearby. Now send a wave oscillating at 2.4 gigahertz through a glass of water. 2.4 billion direction changes per second. Every water molecule in that glass is trying to spin and realign with each reversal. Billions of times per second, all of them, all at once. That spinning generates friction. Friction generates heat. In roughly 2 minutes, your coffee is hot again. That's a microwave oven. Not magic, not mystery, resonance. The 2.4 gigahertz frequency was chosen specifically because it excites water molecules with devastating efficiency. Engineers didn't stumble onto it. They calculated it. Percy Spence, technology. You blame the manufacturer. You mentally add, get a better router to a list you'll never act on. That's the comfortable version. That's the story that keeps you passive. It's wrong. Your microwave oven is not malfunctioning. It is not leaking. It is not poorly shielded. A typical consumer microwave contains its signal to within regulatory limits, less than 5 milliwatts per square centimeter at 5 centimeters from the surface. The FCC measures this. Engineers test for it. The metal cavity surrounding your food is doing exactly what it was designed to do. The problem isn't that your microwave is escaping its cage. The problem is that your microwave and your Wi-Fi router are both broadcasting into the same cage, the 2.4 gigahertz band, and that cage only fits one voice at a time. Think about what that means. Your Wi-Fi router transmits at roughly 100 milliwatts. Your microwave oven generates 500 to 1,200 watts of microwave energy, with even its minimal leakage dwarfing your router's entire output. When the microwave runs, it doesn't jam your Wi-Fi the way an enemy jams a radio signal. It simply shouts so loudly in the same frequency that your router's whisper becomes inaudible. It's not interference. It's a volume problem. And here's the inversion that changes how you see your entire wireless world. Wi-Fi didn't move into bad spectrum despite the microwave problem. Wi-Fi moved into bad spectrum because of it. The microwave oven made 2.4 gigahertz worthless to commercial telecoms. And worthless spectrum was the only spectrum that was free. Your microwave oven is the reason Wi-Fi exists where it does, not an obstacle, a landlord. The microwave didn't ruin the neighborhood. The microwave created the neighborhood by making it uninhabitable enough that the only people willing to move in were the ones with nothing to lose and everything to build. This isn't a design flaw hiding in your kitchen. This is the electromagnetic spectrum working exactly as it always has. Finite, crowded, and ruthlessly competitive. Every wireless technology you use is fighting for position in a resource that was already spoken for before most of its current tenants were invented. Your dropped connection isn't a glitch, it's history. Now here's what people miss when they learn just about microwaves and Wi-Fi. This isn't an isolated problem. This is the fundamental constraint on every wireless technology you use. The same scarcity that forces Wi-Fi to share frequency with microwave ovens also forces your Bluetooth headphones to operate in that same 2.4 gigahertz wasteland, competing with both your microwave and your Wi-Fi for the same channel. Your baby monitor, your wireless keyboard, your garage door opener, all crowded into the ISM bands, because those are the only frequencies that don't require a license, 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi to exist at all, because the 2.4 gigahertz band became so saturated with devices that engineers had to find another unlicensed frequency, another piece of spectrum considered too compromised to sell. Your cell phone to seamlessly hand off between a dozen different frequency bands as you move through the world, each one auctioned, regulated, and protected like national territory. What looks like a collection of unrelated annoyances, dropped calls, buffering videos, devices that won't pair, is actually one thing manifesting in different forms. Spectrum scarcity, the electromagnetic commons running out of room, and you're not separate from this. Right now, as you read this, your body is passing through dozens of overlapping electromagnetic fields, radio waves from AM and FM stations, cell tower signals, Wi-Fi from your neighbors, GPS signals from satellites, all of them at different frequencies, all of them coexisting because they're not competing for the same channel. But the moment two signals reach for the same frequency, the way your microwave and Wi-Fi both reach for 2.4 gigahertz, only one can be heard. That's not a technological limitation. That's physics. That's the nature of waves in a shared medium. Tesla saw this coming in 1900. He called the electromagnetic spectrum a new kind of territory, one that would have to be surveyed, claimed, divided, and defended. He was describing your kitchen. He just didn't know it yet. So when you heat your leftovers and your video buffers, remember what you're actually seeing. So, why does your microwave interfere with Wi-Fi? Because they're speaking the same language in a room that only has space for one voice. Because the electromagnetic spectrum is finite, and the frequencies we need most are the ones that were claimed first. Because Wi-Fi was built in the ruins of spectrum that microwave ovens had already made uninhabitable, and engineers turned that constraint into the foundation of your wireless world. Not interference, collision, not malfunction, competition for a commons that was never big enough for everything we wanted to build. But understanding this isn't just about microwaves and routers. It's about how we solve problems when the easy answers are already taken. It's about building magnificent systems in the wreckage of everyone else's rejected ideas. 78 years ago, Percy Spencer melted a chocolate bar in his pocket, standing next to a magnetron, and realized he could cook with radio waves. 52 years ago, the FCC gave up on certain frequencies and threw them to the public. 27 years ago, engineers looked at that contaminated spectrum and decided to build there anyway. And now you live in a world where you can stream the entirety of human knowledge to a device in your pocket, using frequencies that were once considered electromagnetic garbage. The fact that we can make this work at all, the fact that your router can whisper data through the same channel your microwave uses to boil water, that's not a trivial engineering footnote. That's a triumph of human ingenuity over fundamental physical limits. Tesla spent his life obsessed with wireless transmission. He died in 1943, 2 years before the microwave oven was patented, 54 years before Wi-Fi was standardized. He never saw this collision coming. But he would have understood it immediately. He would have recognized it for what it is, not a failure of design, but the inevitable consequence of a truth he'd been shouting about for decades. The electromagnetic spectrum is real estate, and we've run out of empty land. That's what microwave Wi-Fi interference really is. Not broken appliances, not cheap routers. The sound of the wireless world getting crowded, not comfort, not simplicity, truth.